Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Sandals University launches virtual reality training. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Friday, 13th October 2023, brought to you in association with our friends at Antillian Group. Details when we return.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. As Jamaica's tourism sector makes a strong recovery from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, Minister Ed Bartlett enthusiastically welcomed the commencement of a groundbreaking partnership. This innovative collaboration brings together Sandals Corporate University, a newcomer, and the California-based artificial intelligence giant Eon Reality, signifying a significant transformation in tourism education. CVM Live's Nika Lewis reports.
Keynote speaker at the launch of the U.S. multi-million-dollar partnership, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says the move to educate using artificial intelligence is driven by innovation and the desire to remain competitive in the technological age.
Characterized by rapid technological changes, endeavors such as the SCU XR platform will guarantee the sustained position of tourism as a global leader in education and training benchmarks. And this is an important point that I wanted to make, Matt, that it emphasizes what you know already, but it makes the statement here in Jamaica as a third world location that what we're doing is truly creating the space for leadership.
Minister Bartlett says it's a benchmark for tourism training and education.
Thus, the goal is not to merely establish a platform, but more importantly, it is to herald the advent of a new paradigm in education transformation. Let me say it again.
The partnership will see California-based software company Eon Reality introducing virtual and augmented reality solutions to train and develop thousands of workers at Sandals. A goal that's expected to yield greater outcomes for those who encounter the platform.
The new Eon XR platform represents a significant paradigm shift rather than only a functioning tool. It can be rightly considered a revolutionary development in its domain. The utilization of artificial intelligence and extended reality will be employed to redefine training and capacity building, particularly within the tourism industry. Ultimately, the partnership between Sandals and Eon Reality exemplifies the fundamental concept of tourism resilience.
A stark contrast to what many Jamaicans were expecting upon hearing of artificial intelligence, but a gesture the minister notes will secure Jamaica's place as a leader in tourism resilience. Nika Lewis, CVM News.
IMF downgrades GDP outlook for Jamaica, while regional outlook upgraded. Javon Keys of TVJ Business Day has more.
In its latest economic outlook released Tuesday morning, the local economy is set to grow by 2% by the end of 2023. In its outlook earlier this year, the IMF projected growth of 2.2%. The International Monetary Fund also projected slower growth for 2024 at 1.8%, a 0.2% downward revision. The forecast for 2028 remains at 1.6%. The IMF's forecast comes days after the World Bank upgraded its outlook for Jamaica, with expected growth for this year at 2.3%. Meanwhile, for the Latin America and Caribbean region, the IMF has upgraded its GDP outlook to 2.3% growth. In April, the projection for this year was 1.6%. The IMF says the region's GDP will also grow by 2.3% next year, reflecting a 0.1% improvement in the outlook. For 2028, the growth forecast is 2.5%, up from the 2.3% programmed in April this year. The World Bank also upgraded the region's GDP outlook in its forecast last week. The IMF projects a 0.2% improvement in global growth for 2023 compared to its earlier forecast. Pierre-Olivier Gorinchas is the chief economist at the IMF.
Growth will slow from 3.5% last year to 3% this year and 2.9% next year, a 0.1 percentage point downgrade for 2024. This remains well below historical averages. Important divergences are appearing. The slowdown is more pronounced in advanced economies than in emerging markets and developing economies. Among advanced economies, the U.S. has been revised up with resilient consumption and investment, while the euro area has been revised down as tighter monetary policy and the energy crisis took a toll.
The IMF also has a more favorable outlook on inflation.
Headline inflation continues to decelerate. Core inflation, excluding food and energy prices, is also projected to decline, but more gradually. However, all in all, most countries are not expected to return to inflation target until 2025. Taken together, our projections are increasingly consistent with a soft landing scenario, bringing inflation down without a major downturn in activity.
In Business Watch, out of Trinidad and Tobago, CLICO has appointed its first board since regaining autonomy from the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago. Peter Christopher of CNC3 Business Watch tells us more.
The Colonial Life Insurance Company, better known as CLICO, has appointed a new board of directors. In CLICO's first stakeholders meeting for more than a decade, Jennifer Frederick was elected as the new chairman of the board, replacing Claire Gomez Miller in the role. Frederick was joined on the new board by Sandra Kumar Campbell, Dara Keogh, Delia Joseph, and Roger McLean, following the meeting which was held at the Trinidad Hilton on Tuesday. Directors which are to be nominated by the corporation's sole, namely the Minister of Finance, will be appointed in a subsequent meeting. This was the first board of directors selected by shareholders of CLICO since the central bank relinquished control of CLICO in December 2022. The central bank had taken control of the company following the government's $5 billion bailout of CLICO following its collapse in 2009. The government still holds a 49% stake in the organization as a result of the intervention.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick,
in association with our friends at
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
A motive has been determined for the assassination attempt of Acting Deputy Commissioner of Prisons Sherwin Bruce. According to Mervyn Edwards, Senior Superintendent of Police for the North Eastern Division, it's an act of revenge. More in this TTT News item.
Reports indicate that at around 7:05 a.m. on Tuesday, 49-year-old prison officer Steve Phipps, the Deputy Commissioner's official driver, was shot at by 3 masked men while parked at Sparrow Drive, Barataria. Mr. Phipps sustained 2 gunshot wounds to the chest and was taken to the hospital for treatment. Deputy Commissioner Bruce successfully defended himself by returning fire. Mr. Bruce's teenage daughter was also said to be in the vehicle and suffered minor injuries.
The motive is one of revenge. We are seeing it as gang activity. In fact, most of the homicides in the division have been related to gang activity. To make every place in Trinidad and Tobago safe is our motto. And as leader of North Eastern Division, that is my focused intention.
And Commissioner of Police Earl Harewood Christopher is assuring the public that the safety and well-being of the country's law enforcement officers and the community remains their top priority. Commissioner Harewood Christopher says the TTPS intends to use all the resources at their disposal to apprehend those responsible for the attack.
The world celebrates Mental Health Day, a day that's dedicated to raising awareness and mobilizing efforts to support those experiencing mental health issues. Actually, according to the World Health Organization, mental health is a basic human right. So for this CNC3 News Tech Tip segment, you'll be given a look at ways technology can be tailored to contribute to a healthy state of well-being.
We often hear about the negatives of technology as it relates to our mental health. From the envy that may stir as you scroll through your social media to the mental strain caused from unproductive conversations. All of these things can cause both cognitive and compulsive behavioral disorders that can have a negative impact on our mood and mindset. But despite these things, technology can still do a lot of good for your mental health, a source of inspiration and hope. In a recent study, it was found that technology has improved our lives because of the information we have at our fingertips, the ease of communication with each other, and remote work. But the study also suggested that social media is very important for helping young people with symptoms of depression, since it allows them to express themselves creatively and get inspiration from others as well as feel less lonely. And there are no apps that can connect you with others who suffer from the same mental health issues that you face so that you feel less alone.
Thoughts will tell you, no, you're falling behind. You're missing out. Everyone's getting ahead of you. No, you're right on schedule.
For others, an inspiring word at the tip of your finger or some soothing music is all that is needed to offer that much-needed therapy. So while technology may be dangerous, it can aid in ways that are the most useful to your health. But always remember, if anything ever costs you your mental health, be sure to look elsewhere for the sake of your well-being. Pavita Paul Chan, CNC3 News.
St. Lucia's Dr. Kenny Anthony is calling for a new approach to combat crime in the Vieux-Fort South area. Stanley Lucian of the HTS News Force reports.
Former Prime Minister and Member of Parliament for Vieux-Fort South, Dr. Kenny Anthony, speaking on the deadly gun violence plaguing his constituency, says new approaches need to be adopted to combat crime in the southern community. Dr. Anthony is recommending the setting up of an intelligence gathering unit in Vieux-Fort.
Government needs to consider the need for a modern, dedicated intelligence unit to be located in Vieux-Fort to begin this process of gathering meaningful intelligence. Then we have to ensure that confidence in the police has to be restored. There is probably no community that is as distant and as remote from the police as a community of Vieux-Fort South is to their police officers.
The Member of Parliament for Vieux-Fort South says the police must be accountable to the communities they serve, noting that even the police is fearful of going into the very communities they are to protect and serve.
But as we preach for confidence to be restored, we have a bigger and larger problem. If you think members of the public are fearful of those who maim, who kill, who murder, then the police are even more fearful of going into the communities that they are supposed to be responsible for. How then do we cure this problem when we have to rely on the police to protect us?
The sixth-term parliamentarian is calling for the special allocation of government resources for the troubled areas of the South to steer young people away from a life of crime.
Vieux-Fort requires very special interventions. We have to find the resources to provide economic opportunities for the young people in Bruceville, the Mang, Bacadere, and Cantonment, to give them the opportunity to explore an alternative lifestyle. This cannot be done by the usual means and usual methods. These young people must feel that there is an alternative lifestyle that is sustainable.
On March 20th, 2023, Minister for National Security Philip J. Pierre declared Vieux-Fort South an area of escalated crime, a status that triggered special police powers aimed at curbing the spike in gun-related deadly violence. Though this resulted in a sharp reduction in the shootings, despite the additional resources poured into the police force and with law enforcers on the ground in greater numbers, the problems persist. The Member of Parliament for Vieux South, Dr. Kenny Anthony, is calling for a new approach to be taken to turn the situation around. Stanley Lucien for the HS News Force.
I am Eddie Frederick, wishing you a restful weekend. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.